heal as a team, we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's the team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome to tonight's show. It is another live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. Today is March 14th, 2012. And I have a good show for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I have a good friend of mine who has been a little bit absent from the internet because he's been fighting with the dirtbag New World Order controlled cable companies in his area, and standing by his principles, which I give him credit for, and that's why he has been around. But he's back with us. He's got his internet back, and he won for right now. So I want to welcome back to the show a frequent guest, good friend, fellow radio show host, investigator, and filmmaker, and all-around good guy, Steve Stars. Welcome back, Steve.
Hey, again, my pleasure, Popeye, and hello to all the audience out there. We were going to do a show, I guess it was 2 weeks, or maybe has it been 3 by now, and I had my whole internet system jacked and taken down because there was a controversy over a charge for repairs that we didn't want to pay. We were paying our bills. We were just trying to get them to talk to us about this repair charge. And they said, no way, we're just going to pull your entire communication system down, which is kind of what we talk about in this New World Order control of your internet system, your telephone, your cable TV, your cell phone, you know, your internet connection. All of it's tied into these bundle packages. And, of course, if you have any controversy over one small part of this whole thing, they just hold your whole communication system random, at ransom, I guess that is, and then just yank it all down. That's what they did. So, but I got around them. Because I got another system, and there are a few free, let's put it this way, not free, but there are also another alternative applications out there that I found to use, and so we just got to keep doing that because I believe in a free market.
But that's the way it works, dude. If you don't like the service that one company is providing you, you fire them and you go to somebody who will provide you the proper service that you require and treat you with the respect that you deserve. That's the way it's supposed to be. So I'm glad that you did what you were supposed to do. You stepped up, and I'm actually glad you stood your ground for a little bit with him and didn't cave in and just give him, the extra after you paid all this and you did what you had to do, and then they come in and they try to charge you extra money on top of it with just fees out of nowhere. I'm glad you stood your ground. I mean, it sucked that they literally cut off all forms of communication, but I guess that's actually better because now you know not to have everything in all your eggs in one basket, as it were. That way, if they cut off one form, you still have a different company or a different way of communicating. You can still somewhat get out. But, I mean, it's a prime example of what these companies do. You're right, these bundle packages, that's a really good example of how they control everything, your phone, your internet, and your TV. Not that the TV is really useful, but some people would use it to maybe get news, have some semblance of a connection to the outside world. And they cut you off. That's it, And if you're dependent on that, which a lot of people today are, they don't know what to do. There's actually a new phobia, Steve, for people that I can't remember the name of it now, but it's for people that are afraid of losing their cell phone. It's like no phonophobia or some stupid shit like that. But it's literally the fear of, oh my God, I don't have my cell phone. What do I do? Oh, gee, I don't know. What did we do before cell phones?
That's right. I mean, you and I remember, but a lot of people don't, or we have a very short memory when it comes to these things, and that's the danger of it all. I mean, we're becoming very, very addicted to our communications via internet, via cell phones, via text, via regular phones, or whatever system we're working with, a cable TV, our apps, and all the different kinds of things that we're using with our phone systems. And I'll tell you, it can be very quite frightening and put people into a panic if this communication grid goes down. And we've been fighting that, Popeye. And I saw some of your videos about your hard drives that you're selling with information to get this stuff out, because we've just got to be prepared, friends. And this just lets us know that, I mean, at any given moment, they could try to interrupt all communications. It's really going to cause a lot of people stress.
Well, that's why I started archiving videos and stuff from YouTube and anywhere else that I could find, pretty much on the internet a couple of years ago, probably about 4 years ago. No, yeah, but I started about 4 years ago now.
Yeah, it's a great job. It really is, because you got to keep these things in our own, in our own circulation. Remember the old days of the fax machines and even CB radios. If we have to go back to that, we will. If it comes down.
I had a CB when I was a kid.
Yeah.
We used to have. My friend's father had a setup in his one of the lower bedrooms in his house. The way his house was set up, he had a couple bedrooms upstairs, and then he had this bedroom that was in the back of the house. And he had turned that into a little office. And he had this huge antenna that came up off the top of the house. And we used to go on the CB, and we used to talk to people 100 miles away, 150 miles away.
You could bounce those things around, yeah.
It was fun just to go on and talk to people, on the radio when I was a kid. That's what we did. I'm showing my age when I say it. We used to drive around with CBs and stuff like that in our cars, because we did.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Well, there are alternative means of communication. If we have to use Morse code, I don't care, but we'll figure out a way to do it. They are looking at trying to shut things down, obviously, with a number of different methods. And I mean, it doesn't always appear to be the new world order the way this whole thing is working, but we are seeing this, and there's no question about the fact that our communications are vital to keeping the truth alive and keeping the light on in this country, which is, even with the mainstream media, I mean, it might be better in a way that they shut off their own damn media, you know what I mean? Because then people wouldn't be listening to all this crap, and we'd be the only ones communicating. But who knows, Popeye? We'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Well, technology is a double-edged sword. It's good because we can get our message out, but at the same time, you end up dealing with the dumbing down of what's coming, and that's coming from 10-minute video lengths on YouTube, or now it's 15, but still that's short. 160 character limit on Twitter. You limit what people, how they can think, because people see someone says something to you in a comment section and you want to respond. And even 500 characters isn't enough, and you have to cut it down and make it, sound stupid. You have to dumb it down, as it were, to fit, 2 sentences into one, and then that ends up becoming the new the new language.
Yeah.
Look at kids now with text messaging and stuff and instant messaging. Everything is, I mean, I know what LOL or, LMAO, I understand what all this means, but you know what I mean? It's become part of the lexicon. There is no more intelligent speak. You'll hear two kids talking, teenagers, 18, 19 years old, and the things that they're saying, it doesn't make any sense. 20 years ago, it would have been jibber jabber. It does just, we're losing our brains. We're losing our intelligence. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Steve, have you been able to pay attention to what's been going on with the march towards the war in Iran?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've been following it as best I can, listening on the radio, of course, where we have a pretty good radio station here, and I'm able to get some of the alternative news media on AM, actually. And, there's all kinds of inside information on this that's going on, friends. I mean, first of all, you got to realize that not all Israelis are backing this. As a matter of fact, a lot of them are really unhappy with what's going on here while they're going through these gas mask drills and living in this perpetual fear, all for the survival of Israel. They're wondering why all this is happening. And, of course, we've been following this for so long, Popeye. As you know, we were following it when the whole thing started in Egypt. We knew that the Muslim Brotherhood was backed, of course, by the MI6 and has been for many years. We knew this was a CIA operation. I'm not defending Mubarak, and I'm not defending Gaddafi or Assad, but I can tell you that this whole Arab Spring thing is not helping anybody, and it's only creating tensions, and it's all a lie. And of course, that witch Hillary Clinton is behind all of this, and they're making these statements about what we already knew. They were on the ground and planning more subversion in Syria, while the rhetoric about attacking Iran keeps going up all the time. So anyhow, it's just been very, very intense, and I've been following this, and we've just watched these domino effect type revolutions take place all across the Mideast, none of which I am satisfied are helping anybody over there improve their life or creating better conditions for anyone.
Well, war, it just kills me. The idea of war as a peace, as a way to bring peace is just insane. Preemptive war, Eisenhower even talked about this. He's got a quote where he said that, preemptive war was, that's Hitler's idea. That was, Nazi ideology of, you have to have preemptive war to stop war. Does that make any sense? No. That's just doublespeak for we're going to do what we want. That's just trying to confuse the people while they get away with invading foreign sovereign nations. We're doing the same thing. We're looked at in the world stage the same way the Nazis were. Not because of when I say that, people are so arrogant and ignorant. Well, we're not rounding Jews up. At the time, idiots, nobody knew about that. Okay, all they knew was that the Nazi scourge was running rampant all over Europe and taking over countries. They didn't know about the extermination camps yet, morons. So when people make a reference to the United States now turning into what Nazi Germany was, it's very accurate. Same thing with Stalin's Russia. You have everybody running around being taught to snitch on each other. Oh, Steve's on the radio. He does a radio show. My neighbor Steve is a terrorist. It's ridiculous.
Oh, you brought up something. I just got to talk about this. Okay, now I've been reading Behind the Green Mask, which is a great book on Agenda 21, and even this is talking about the Stasi tactics that the whole sustainability Agenda 21 ICLEI thing is working with Popeye. We'll get into that. We talked about politics on the local level. I know a lot of people are discouraged about what's happening with Ron Paul and everything like that. But friends, let me tell you something. There's a huge fight going on in the local level, and I found out about this from people that I got involved with, not really looking for it, knowing it was there. But I mean, it kind of came to me. But it was so odd that you brought that up, Popeye, because here's the thing. Back last fall, they were passing around a neighborhood watch sign-up sheet, right? A neighborhood watch. Of course, my question is, who's watching the watchers? I mean, I don't mean this with any disrespect towards anybody in law enforcement, but are you daft? Who are you working for? Hey, I got a clue for you. The chief executive is illegal. 9/11 was an inside job. What the hell is law and order in this country? What are you telling me? How are we supposed to respect you, Mr. Policeman? The guy's a goon for the. I'm not trying to put him down because I know a lot of good cops. There are a lot of people who are really grieved by this. But I tell you what, Popeye, I left the news media years ago because I knew something was wrong. I have no respect for somebody who says, well, I got to keep my job. Well, maybe he does. But what kind of self-respecting person can actually wear a uniform in law enforcement these days? Anyway, getting back to this, they're having a neighborhood watch, and everybody's supposed to sign up. So I signed up just to kind of find out what was going on. It's kind of coerced into this. Guess what happened? I never get a call from anybody. I go back over to the office a couple of days ago when I'm complaining about the cable situation, and there's another list for the neighborhood watch. And I'm looking at it and say, hey, my name's not on this, and I signed up last time, and I don't know any of the people who signed up, and how come they're not on here? I said, well, this is a new neighborhood watch list. Oh, I see. So I'm out there today, and the maintenance guy comes by. He's kind of, I presume he has some military background. You can kind of tell who kind of guy he is. He's not a bad guy. But he says, hey, did you sign up for the police academy in the neighborhood? The what? The police academy in the neighborhood. What is the police academy in the neighborhood? Well, that's I guess that's something different than the neighborhood watch. It's, the cops are going to come in here and train everybody in the neighborhood. Oh, really? Yeah, so you brought this up, I had to mention that tonight because, this happened just today. I'm going, what the hell are they doing now? What is the police academy in the neighborhood? It's all about this Eustasi thing. Keep watching your neighbor because they might be, voting for Ron Paul, or they might be wanting to hold on to their Second Amendment rights and hold on to their guns, And the kind of crazy stuff that's gone on around here, Popeye, has nothing to do with, well, let's put it this way. We have some criminal element right around this area. We're kind of in a lower income area, not super low, but the biggest problems we've had have been just related to cops and robbers, shooting it out among themselves, chasing people into our neighborhood. There was a deputy that was shot dead, and a Mexican kid that was about a 5'10". He was a little crazy, stole a car. They chased him for about almost 75 miles into our neighborhood. Couldn't get him out of the car, couldn't tase him. And in the process of trying to wrestle the kid out of the car, he pulls the gun out of the deputy's holster, fires a shot. It hits the pavement, bounces up, hits the deputy in the face. Then they pummel him with bullets. Two people are dead because of this, stolen car, and a 5'10" skinny Mexican kid who's chased across Colorado into our neighborhood. So we got to have a neighborhood watch to protect us from this kind of crap, Popeye. This happened right in front of a friend's house. A shootout.
Well, let me ask you this: how is a neighborhood watch going to stop that? What's the neighborhood going to watch it happen and then bitch about it? What are you going to do? Things like that happen. If everybody's armed, I agree it's good to get together and, get to know your neighbors and stuff and form little circles of support, I guess you could say. But I don't think that it has to go to the level of running around and everybody spying on each other. See, that's the problem. It'll get to that real quick. Some guy, some dude just shot some black kid down here, a teenager. I think he was 15 or 16 years old. And he was part of the neighborhood watch. He was like their captain or whatever.
Oh, my gosh.
And he just shot the kid. And it turns out the kid wasn't doing anything. He was going to his stepmom's house, which was like 70 feet from where this guy shot him. He was walking down the street, and this guy, I guess, decided he was going to be a hero. And in his eyes, all black kids wearing hoodies must be criminals. So he ran up on this kid, started getting, mouthing off to the kid. The kid probably told him to go F himself or whatever. And the guy pulled out his gun and shot the kid. Now, he has a concealed weapons permit, so he was carrying legally. But the question is, did he need to pop this teenager? I know the teens nowadays are fearless, and when you're older, whatever, I understand. But is there a need to just be popping people because you want to be a hero? That's where this neighborhood watch thing can lead to if you get the wrong kind of idiot, who got beat up in high school, and now neighborhood watch means he's going to be a glorified version of a security guard in your neighborhood. Here we go. Power trip, number 39. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And I want to take a brief moment. I just found out something during the break. a friend of mine, somebody I've known for quite a long time. Actually, it's a very long time now that I think about it. But he passed away. He's 39, and he just passed away from cancer. And I just actually found out about it now that he was sick. But I just want to give a quick shout out. Sal, gonna miss you, buddy. Just totally a shock, a big shocker. But I just said to one of my friends, what did he die of? And he said lung, spine, and liver cancer. He was 39 years old. He shouldn't have lung, spine, and liver cancer. Of course, he grew up in New Jersey, where I grew up, so Lord knows if it was anything in the food and water supply up there. But, that sucks. So, I figured I'd mention it on air. Sorry I didn't know sooner. I would have probably I could have made some time to go up and visit him or say something to him or call him on the phone at least, talk to him. Oh, well, you can't live in the what if. So, sorry, Sal. You're going to be missed, buddy. Fair winds and following seas. You're probably in a better place anyway. All right, Steve, getting back into it, what do you think of the 2012 election? This whole mess with Santorum and Gingrich and Romney. I don't add Dr. Paul because he's not part of the carnival that is that cluster F. Yeah. But what's your take on the latest? Because I'm glad you actually it's been a while that we talked about the election until now, especially with what happened yesterday in the South and Santorum just sweeping everything. I think actually Santorum won one, or Gingrich won the other, if I remember correctly, and Romney came in third in both places. And they're busting on him, saying, blah 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 blah. He's obviously not the front runner. See, the media wants you to think he's the front runner. Of course, most of the media channels that say he's the front runner and the only choice are owned by they're owned by Clear Channel. And who owns Clear Channel? Bain Capital. Who used to be the CEO of Bain Capital? Mitt Romney. Any questions?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how the mainstream news media is controlled by the very same people who are ruining just about everything, the banks, the war, the education process. Everything has gone so corrupt in this country right now that I don't know whether the United States can survive. I do believe that Ron Paul should leave the Republican Party. I've said that for a long time. This was predictable. I kind of figured this was going to happen. And I was on record, I think, on Bob Tuskin's show and maybe with yours as well, Popeye, when I said that after Super Tuesday, if Ron Paul isn't clearly in the running, he needs to get out of the Republican Party, because after all, the Republican Party is the party that brought us 9/11, the anthrax poisonings, all kinds of executive orders that were unconstitutional, including the Warren Authorization Act and some of those others, of course, and then finally began the long downhill slide into the bankster bailoutville with TARP, and that was a very neatly sewn transition, you might say, almost seamless in between George W. and Barack H. Obama, who was Bush 2, really, in many ways. So the bottom line is that Ron Paul, I think, needs to get out of the Republican Party and just disassociate himself with this filth. It just doesn't make any sense for him to try to do anything that is honest among people who have such a horrible record, even within their party at the primaries and stuff. Now, we can talk a little bit about what my experience has been as wanting to be a delegate, and I actually am a delegate for Ron Paul, believe it or not. I'm an alternative. I told the people at our local convention after the first primary, which was a straw poll vote, and I just basically nominated myself to become a delegate. There was only 5 people who nominated themselves, and we only needed 5 delegates, and we didn't even have any alternatives. Or alternates, I meant. And so I ended up as a Ron Paul delegate to go on to the district meeting, and I just got up there and told these people, look, I don't want to pay $60 to go to the Republican convention unless you want me to go and represent Ron Paul, because I frankly don't care for Santorum, for Gingrich, or Romney. So don't vote for me to go unless you want me to go to represent Ron Paul and Ron Paul only. That's the only reason why I will go to the Republican convention at state. You know what? I almost got elected. But in our little area, what happened, Popeye, it was almost 2-1 Santorum. Now, I don't know why in our specific area in Colorado, Weld County area, Santorum ended up with about twice as many votes as anybody. Ron Paul came in very strong second. But what was really amazing, there were a lot of people at this district delegate meeting who came up and said, you know, Steve, we really appreciate you being straight out honest. None of the other guys told us who they were voting for. Nobody. I was the only one that said, I'm for Ron Paul only. And I don't want to go to this thing. I don't want to spend $60 unless you want to send me there and get honest about changing this government, because you're wasting your time, and don't waste mine or my money. I don't have a lot of it. But anyhow, the bottom line is simply this, that, you know, I was almost elected. And so people came to me, a few of them that were really very good people. And there were also some other people who, you know, they may not have their heads screwed on completely right, but at least they're right about the Second Amendment and a lot of other things, and they're saying we got to get the country back, Popeye. We got to get it out of the hands of these idiots and these clowns who are destroying everything, and we got to stand up for the Second Amendment. And I said, you know, these are probably the kind of people who would vote for Ron Paul if he were the candidate, but, you know, in the meantime, they think that Obama is the enemy, and of course he is. But, you know, the bottom line is you're not going to get away with Romney, who's backed by Goldman Sachs, the same bankers, and of course you got Newt Gingrich, you know, who's got more baggage than P.T. Barnum's circus train, and then Rick Jesuit Santorum. You know, so you've got some real problem makers just waiting in the wings. It's like arsenic A, B, or C. You know, that's what your choice is here. And I refuse to swallow that poison. Anyhow, you know, not to dominate all the time, let you ask some more questions and get your comments in, Popeye. The bottom line is I met some very good people, and I found out where we really need to go is into the local races and local places where we can deal with things like Agenda 21, where we can deal with electing the right person to be your county sheriff, get the right county commissioners who can't be bought, or at least the good people in office in the local level. If the big party in the Republican race is gone sour, either Ron Paul needs to get out or do something very quickly, because it's after Super Tuesday. This is what I said I would say. If it turned out this way, he needs to get out of that party, I believe, and get on and be his own man. Not an owned man, his own man. How do you feel about that?
I think he should go to the independent party. I think he should run independent. I think, you know, if the Constitution Party or whoever wants to pick him up, whatever, but he should run independent. He should get together and talk to the other independents like Gary Johnson, who's running, and say to Johnson, look, if you put your support behind me, you know, if he wanted Johnson as his vice president, you know, have him, that would secure up some stuff. If not, go talk to him and say, if we run together, you could be in the cabinet, you know, we'll make you whatever position you want. You know, this person, you know, you could be in this position, you could be in this position, maybe you run for vice president. If he was smart, he would get all the independents together so that vote wouldn't be torn apart and everybody was on the same page. And then Ron Paul could focus on telling the GOP, I'm going to leave like you guys want, but I'm going to do something you don't want, and I'm going to take your voters with me. Because the GOP doesn't get it. They won't win against Obama. There's no way the GOP can stand against Obama without Ron Paul's supporters. And if Paul left, he would take a lot of people from the Republican Party with him. He would have Democrats crossing over. Paul could focus his energy on his main target, Obama. Before Santorum and all them were targets, now I would consider them not to be targets. I would say that it's time for him to eject. I know I respect what he's doing with the whole Republican Party thing, but if I were him, I would tell his, you know, I would be straight up honest with the voters and say, look, this is really about the country's future. This isn't about me. The Republican Party has time and time again lied and blocked people's efforts to vote for me. They've lied about the outcomes of the votes. They've lied when I won and said Mitt Romney won. So obviously they don't care about you. They think you're all stupid. They think that you're all dumb sheep. I don't. I respect you. And because I respect you, I won't run in this party anymore. I'm going to run independent. And I ask that you come with me. and let's make this country a better place. And you can forget about the people that obviously don't care about you and would rather urinate on you and spit on you than actually do anything to help you. That's the stance he should take. But he's kind of still a little too nice. He needs to get a little more hardcore. He needs to start walking around with a baseball bat and breaking some kneecaps. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Steve and I were going over some of these bills that are being passed during the break. I brought up the trespass bill, which is now you can't protest if there's government officials or like when the Israeli officials come here and gloat about things that they've done, and somebody gets pissed and they come and protest and say you're killing innocent children in Palestine and stuff like that. That used to be protected free speech. Well, now that's a felony. Now you can get arrested and go to jail for that and do time for that. That's a no-no. Not here in the United States of America. And Obama signed that into law. So, yeah, there you go. There goes the First Amendment. I mean, hey, they don't care anymore. They're just right in your face like, hey, we don't care. F the Constitution. That's completely illegal. You can't do that. You can't just do that and then, well, the lawyers will argue the legality of it. No, that's illegal. You just committed an act of treason, sedition. Unfreaking believable. And no one's pissed. That's the real kicker. No one gives a two craps, Steve. No one cares less. Everybody's, well, Dancing with the Stars is on, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I tell you, it's never been a time where America was in such danger from dark stupidity among the masses as it is today. And this happened quite a bit in our history. But, I mean, this is the kind of stuff this is the reason why we're here, Popeye. That's why I appreciate you and Bob Tuskin and people like you guys doing shows. I pray for you because, you're some of the only voices out there. I mean, there's others, of course. We know there's a lot of people in this truth movement. But, I mean, I really do appreciate the work that you're doing by trying to get this information out and talking about these things, because this is serious stuff, ladies and gentlemen. This is not spitting on the sidewalk days anymore and getting a ticket for it. I mean, this is a ripoff of every one of your inalienable rights. And I mean, this is just a crushing of the Constitutional Bill of Rights that's taking place, not just by Obama, but everyone else coming down the pike, from George W. to the next idiot that sits in that White House, unless it's Ron Paul or somebody who has a respect for the Constitution and wants to get rid of these kinds of executive orders and these obstructions right away. We are in trouble, very serious trouble with all this.
Yeah, this isn't a joke. This isn't tinfoil hattery. I remember 10 years ago when people wouldn't have even, first of all, the mainstream media wouldn't even talk about any of this. You would have been laughed at if you even brought this up. And now it's in the daily lexicon, the term FEMA camp. Did you see what they just announced today? I posted this on Federal Jack. Let me bring this up because this blew my mind. I was telling Joe Joseph this off air a couple hours ago when I was talking to him in my cell. When I first saw this morning, I was, half asleep. I had like toothpicks holding my eyelids open because I had stayed up late to do some audio editing. And as I'm doing it, I come across this story, and I talk about being re-energized. It was just a shot in the gut. And now, again, at first I thought this said, the title is Announcing the Creation of FEMA Corps. FEMA Corps, FEMA Corps, like the Marine Corps. But the way I was half looking at it, I saw C and S, and I swear to God, I saw in between the three letters, ORP, instead of OR, it was AM, and I thought it said Announcing the Creation of FEMA Camps, and I was like, oh my God, is FEMA actually just outright throwing it in your face? And I had to do a double take. And then I saw it said FEMA Corps. But this is just as bad. This is pretty much the beginning of that little civilian army that they wanted, that they talked about. Remember? We need a civilian military force that's just as powerful.
As regular forces.
Remember that little speech he had, that little stump speech?
Yeah. Obama's Nazi youth movement, wasn't it? And, of course, this has been a long design. It is Nazi Germany. That's what this is. And it's been patterned right after it. I mean, there's nothing new here. We've seen this before. You know what I mean? We've seen this happen over and over again. And that's the issue that's really problematic for most Americans who are not awake at this moment and realizing that you have no hope.
Well, I'm glad you said Hitler Youth, because you want to know who it's directed at? This is from Cecilia Munoz, the director of the White House Domestic Policy Council. She was one of the people speaking with Manet Napolitano at this thing. And she said, FEMA Corps helps communities recover. It trains young people, helps them pay for college, and it doesn't cost taxpayer an additional dime. Whether you're a young person looking for work, a member of the community that's been hit by a flood or a tornado, or just a citizen who wants your tax dollars to be spent as wisely as possible, this is a program you can be proud of. This is really government at its best. So you take part in this. You and FEMA together. We are one. Everybody happy together. Yay.
Gee, Wally, I think me, you, and the Beaver should go off and join the Hitler Youth.
Yeah, right, exactly. Jesus. Everybody's marching up to go, oh, God. I mean, this is complete propaganda. And for people to say, Popeye, why are you and Steve getting all upset about this? You have to understand what they've been doing for the past couple of years. Yeah. They've been teaching, FEMA's been training with, or DHS has been training with the Boy Scouts, where, they have camo pants and boots and T-shirts, and these kids are dressed up with gas masks and entering rooms with toy assault rifles, doing mock raids on veterans and gun owners. And this stuff goes back to the LA Times 3, 4, or 5 years ago now.
I'm reading, I went to your site too, federaljack.com, and I'm reading part of this article as well, Papa. It says, down at the bottom, it says, we have to preserve what President Obama has called the basic promise of America, that no matter who you are, where you come from, you can make it if you try, if you fulfill your responsibilities and you make a contribution. A contribution to what? How are you fulfilling your responsibilities by joining this, this enclave of collective idiots? I mean, it's hard to believe, that this kind of stuff is being sold as something that is your responsibility, and this is the basic promise of America? My gosh, it's just absolutely absurd. We've got so many kids in government service now. I feel sorry for those that I've known that have been over to Afghanistan or Iraq 2 or 3 times, are coming back and trying to resume their life. It was supposed to be a volunteer army, and you can't volunteer your way out, Popeye. You know what I mean? I volunteer not to go anymore. And this is the kind of system that we're under right now.
What if they threw a war, Steve, and nobody came?
That would be delightful.
I often ask that. I've asked that before, and I often ask it off air. I've even said it on air. What if they threw a war, nobody showed up? Can you imagine if neither side, the soldiers on both sides, the leaders were all, saber rattling, and we're going to get you, and the soldiers on both sides just unanimously agreed, no, this is bullshit. We're not going to do this. This is out of hand. We're not doing this anymore. Well, can you imagine if they all just said no? One simple word, 2 letters, very easy, no.
Yeah, we were also talking about some of the response that we've seen recently from the Pentagon top brass about their estimations and intelligence that concerning Iran's nuclear policies and programs. And they don't seem to be threatened by any of this, and are taking a position against the Georgetown Jesuit gang of, Petraeus, Clapper, and...
hey, speaking of the Jesuits, did you see Panetta today?
No.
He went over to Afghanistan, and while he was there, he was speaking to... a tent it had Afghan soldiers, but filled with Marines, just filled with, combat ready, combat hardened Marines, all with their rifles. And never do you ever tell a Marine, a soldier, an airman, a sailor, anybody, you never tell any of these guys in theater, put your weapon outside the tent. Your weapon is always strapped to your thigh or within arm's reach in case you're attacked. That way you can, take aim and repel. How are you supposed to repel the invaders if your gun is 150 or 200 feet away from you and one of them gets to it first? Well, that's not really good, is it? I guess that didn't work out too well. So all these guys usually have their weapons on them. Well, when Panetta was speaking, he made them leave their guns outside the tent. So what does that tell you? he doesn't trust his own active duty Marines not to pop him.
That's right. I mean, there's rumblings going on. A military junta is possible. I hope that it doesn't come to that, mainly because I'm not sure who will get into control. There may be more routes to police state than we think of, Popeye. I mean, they could be planning something like this, but already you're hearing Dempsey and the chiefs, the Joint Chiefs, disputing with the White House about the situation and the next line of agenda, which is both Syria, well, of course, we saw what happened in Libya, but Syria and Iran as being the next part of this theater that they see themselves being, coerced into fighting. And I don't think a lot of the Joint Chiefs, and there are some good people in the military who have had it with Barack Obama, and you're absolutely right. Who would want to kill the defense secretary, out there in a place like where he's visiting, Afghanistan, or some of these other, hellholes that they've been sent to for the fourth or fifth time? Yeah, it's odd.
Well, that's why these guys are snapping. That's why these guys are killing themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And people are like, oh, this, that, the other thing. These soldiers are evil, and there are guys that give in to evil. I've talked about it on air many a times, but you have to understand, as I said, what creates that. These scumbags that run things, they know what does it. They don't care. They don't care. Those are the ones that are responsible for creating the monsters. We have to try to help them and fix them as best we can, but we need to hold the people that created them responsible. That's who we need to hold responsible. The scumbags that start these wars that never go fight them themselves. Big pussies in suits. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hour number 1 over. Hour number 2 coming up. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on Down the Rabbit Hole. Today is March 14th, 2012. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. Today I'm joined by my guest, Steve Stars, good friend of the program. You guys all know he's here quite often. And I have something special I'm going to do really quick. As I stated in the first hour, as I found out while I was on air, a friend of mine, an old friend of mine, died earlier today, apparently. And I'm going to play. Sal was he was a firefighter, he was a volunteer firefighter for a long time in New Jersey. So out of respect for him and out of respect for just, because he's my friend and because he was a firefighter for a long time, I'm going to play real quick for him on air. I'm going to play Amazing Grace, the bagpipe version. This is how, in the military, or before I was in the military, when I was a firefighter, this is how we bury our dead. So, out of respect for my friend, I'm going to play this really quick. So just stand by and hang out with me. That's for you, Sal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on with it. So, Steve, getting back on track and keeping on this tone of what we were talking about the first hour with war and the election, what do you think is going to happen, let's say, in the next 3 months? Do you think that Obama is going to use this impending war and all of this, the rhetoric from the opposite side, because it's an election year? Do you think he's going to try to use this to his advantage? And if so, how do you see him trying to use it to his advantage?
Well, you know, we've always talked about the October surprise, and he's in serious trouble. I don't think Obama is as near as popular as a lot of people would claim he is, because it's the mainstream news media telling us. And, you know, he's been very unpopular for a long period of time. Unemployment figures were not good. The economy is not coming back around. There's all kinds of trouble and problems all over the country that don't have anything really relative to, anything that has been positive about Obama's administration. So the reality is he needs something. And we're seeing this whole thing being geared up very intensely by Netanyahu. He's making speeches, of course. We heard that little clip of the news. I don't know if your listeners caught that during the break there from Obama talking about how the days of diplomacy are coming to an end, paraphrasing here. But, you know, that diplomacy hasn't worked, of course. Well, what are they talking about in terms of diplomacy? What is Iran supposed to do? I mean, there's never really, are they supposed to just open up the entire country so that anybody can walk around and say that they spotted a nuclear weapon being built in somebody's bathroom or something? I mean, it's absolutely absurd. But, you know, this posturing and this whole aggressive positioning that everybody's taking, this saber rattling has got to go someplace eventually. So it looks to me like with the economy crashing, all the other problems that he has, a war is the only solution to save his illicit leadership at this point right now. And I don't feel very good about what's getting ready to happen. Even Netanyahu is preparing people. They're doing the gas mask drills in Israel. There's all kinds of trouble. It looks to me like there could very well be something.
Do you think that's saber rattling, the whole gas mask thing? Or do you think that's really, like, do you think that, when I say that, do you think that's the government, the Israeli government, trying to get their people in that mindset to be prepared for war because it's inevitable? Or do you think that that's just them trying to ramp up the propaganda?
I think there's a little bit of both. I mean, they have to be prepared. Of course, now you saw the stories of these missiles being fired out of Gaza, you know, into southern Israel, and how Netanyahu is responding to this. They sent an attack fighter in to knock out these locations. And as you and I both know, Popeye, we really have no idea who's firing those missiles, whether it's Mossad agents. And I mean, what are you doing? Shooting off pop bottle rockets or something that don't hit anything? It doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of people down there in Gaza to be doing that. Although I'll admit there are probably some pretty angry people. You can certainly understand why people in Gaza might be very upset with the Israelis right now. I've never been for the roadmap to peace. I've called it the roadmap to hell from the beginning, because basically all it did was it created a concentration camp of those people. And now Netanyahu says he wants to go in there and straighten things out. In other words, the Israelis want a free ticket to go in and brutalize all the people that they keep in their ghetto. I mean, this is absolutely a racist and sick situation. Israel cannot survive, in my opinion, under these conditions, under this Sabbatean Labor Party and Likud at this point as well, group of people who are running things in Israel. It's not going to be good. The Israeli citizens a lot of them don't want this war. They're trying to get back to work. Everybody's trying to just live a life. But you've got these agitations on both sides, friends, on both sides, that are trying to keep the heat up all the time over there. So I don't really know whether the missiles being fired out of Gaza require an invasion, but I can tell you one thing. There are a lot of very powerful missiles now in southern Lebanon. And I know this from family members who are Lebanese that I knew in the United States, from my former marriage, of course, but very nice people that I knew very, very well. And some of them have moved back to Lebanon. And they're telling me the situation is creepy down in the south. They've got a lot of missiles there. They're ready to go at any moment. The real attack would be coming from southern Lebanon.
Yeah, when people, it's the pay attention to this hand and don't pay attention to what this hand is doing.
Right.
You know, the whole bombing of Gaza thing, I think that's a distraction.
Yeah.
I think them hitting Gaza, they don't care. They'll bomb it anyway, but they're bombing it as a distraction so people look there instead of other places. All right, we're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Steve, during the break, we were discussing these false flag terror events, like 9/11, for instance. And I was telling you about a clip that I had stumbled across. A YouTube user named, or I should say, I don't want to just call him a user. I don't know what else to call him because that's how he gets. That's his medium, how he gets his information out. So, Conspiracy Scope, really awesome individual. I guess you could call him. I would call him YouTube teacher because he really brings a lot of. He's the one that actually introduced me to Mae Brussel. So, if it weren't for him introducing me to Mae Brussel, the listeners probably wouldn't be able to be hearing her coming soon here on the Orion Talk Radio Network because I wouldn't have had the idea to talk to Jimmy and introduce Jimmy to Mae Brussel. So Conspiracy Scope is the guy that introduced me to Mae Brussel. And I posted this 9/11 video, 3-4 days ago now. And out of nowhere, again, this is why I always tell you guys to get involved because the listeners and the readers, it's you people that are going to help win this. Somebody brought it to my attention. Hey, just to let you know, at about 17 minutes in the video, a fireboat calls in to HQ and says that they saw right after the second plane hit and that it was a military plane. They could see it. Now, remember, the fireboats were sitting there right on the water. So they could already see what was going on. They had a really good view as to the planes coming in. And they say over the radio that, hey, it's a military plane. So I'm going to play this clip really quick. And as I play it, I made a quick video. I'll throw it into the chat room. But for the listeners that are listening just to the stream, you can go to my YouTube channel, and it's one of the Federal Jack Tube 6, and it's one of the most recent uploads. And it says 9/11/01 FDNY Fireboat Marine 6 reports second plane to hit the World Trade Center was a military plane. But you'll see the 9/11/01 FDNY Fireboat Marine 6. It's like the third or fourth video there. Anyway, you can watch the video yourself. There's really nothing special in the video, just some text that I threw in there. But I'm going to, in the video, I have it looped, so you hear it 3 times. Now I'm going to play it. You're going to hear it once, and then I'm going to repeat what they said, and then I'm going to play it a second time. I'm going to repeat what they said again, and then I'm going to play it a third time. And by the third time, you should be able to pick up what they're saying without me repeating it. But it'll make it easier for you. It's kind of like I'm doing subtitles or closed captioning for you, but I'm doing it the audio version. So here we go. Check this out. This is from Marine 6, the morning of 9/11, an FDNY fireboat calling into HQ. Listen to what they had to say.
Marine 6, come ahead.
Marine 6, go with your message.
Marine 6, that plane was a large bomber-style green aircraft into the second tower, be advised.
Now, I'm going to play it again. You just heard him. He said, Marine 6, go ahead with your message. That was the dispatcher. And he said the plane was a large bomber-style aircraft, green, that hit the second tower. Now, you're going to hear the dispatcher say 10-4, and then you're going to hear it re-loop. Listen.
All right, 10-4.
Marine 6, come ahead.
Marine 6, go with your message.
Marine 6, that plane was a large bomber-style green aircraft into the second tower, be advised.
Okay. You hear him again. It was a bomber-style aircraft, green in color, that hit the tower, be advised. And you'll hear the dispatcher in the beginning. It's very faint. I had to crank the audio level up on it so you guys could hear it. But you'll hear him say, Marine 6, go with your message. That's the dispatcher. And then you'll hear Marine 6 respond back with, the plane was a military plane. Listen to it again.
All right, 10-4.
Marine 6, coming ahead.
Marine 6, go with your message.
Marine 6, that plane was a large bomber-style green aircraft into the second tower, be advised.
All right, 10-4.
Now, did you hear it by the time I played it the third time? Did you guys hear it? Did you hear it, Steve?
Yeah, I did, very clearly. Yeah.
I know you heard it the first time, but like you can hear it nice and loud and clear. I know it. I had to play with the audio because the way the mics go back and forth and their recording system at the time was crap. So I had to filter out some background noise and stuff and bring it up a little bit so you could hear it. But it's clear as day. He says it was a bomber-style aircraft that was green in color. So...
Yeah, that doesn't seem to fit any of the video that we know has been doctored. I mean, whether you believe in the no planes or no planes theory or not, we do know that some of the COINTEL photoshopped a lot of the video that came out in 9/11 and re-released, and there's obviously been some manipulation of the images there. So he's saying that this is a bomber-style green aircraft. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, bomber-style aircraft, green. I mean, come on. And how about the woman? There's a clip of this woman. You can look it up. She's this famous clip, and you hear her say, "Oh my God, that was not an American Airlines plane. Oh my God, that was not an American Airlines plane. It was a military jet." Other people reported that it was a military jet. So why is that so hard to believe? I know, because it's easier to believe the official story and go back to sleep. Because it's more comfortable to believe that the government wouldn't do that and to not look into it. That's why I took this audio clip and what I did was I threw it up in video form just with some text like, hey, truth is stranger than fiction. This is, right from the FDNY's mouth. Maybe you should go investigate 9/11. It's only like a minute long. But that's the whole purpose of it, to kind of get people's attention. Right then and there, that little clip, that little 4 or 5 second exchange between the two of them, between Marine 6 and dispatch, that little interaction, that shows you right there the truth right from the beginning. That so when people say, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist and nuts to think that," well, I'm nuts. This is what the FDNY was saying. Oh, well, they were confused. Oh, so they were confused enough to not know what was going on, but they're awesome for saving everybody. You can't have it both ways. Don't dishonor the men and women that died that day and their service by saying that, because you're saying that they're only smart enough to rescue people, but not smart enough to realize what the whole situation that was going on around them because it was too stressful. No, give them a little more credit than that. They're professionals. They know what's going on. That's insulting. That's disrespectful in my eyes, especially as a former firefighter. That's friggin' disrespectful. To say that, to play them up politically and their sacrifice for political gain, but not say that, but to say that they're not, they were out of their minds if they say something that doesn't fit the official story. That's insulting. Oh, well, they were stressed out that day, maybe with PTSD or this or that. No, that's insulting. Listen to what these people were saying that day. You can go listen to the radio recordings over at federaljack.com. I have them posted up there. You can look on the 9/11 archives, or right on the front page under the U.S. News section. It'll say 9/11/01 FDNY radio broadcast or recordings or whatever. And you can listen to the whole thing. And thank you to the listener, reader that went and did the work and listened to the thing and found that little segment. I mean, you had to go. You had to be listening to the thing for a while to find that. You wouldn't have known where to find that. That was like 17 and a half minutes into the broadcast. Or the recording, I should say. So thank you to the listener who found that and brought it to my attention, and because you made it possible for me to bring it to everybody else's attention. So you see how the efforts of one individual just sitting there and listening to the broadcast and saying, "Hey, Popeye, look what I found at such and such a time. Look what it enabled me to do," and then show other people who didn't know about that. Amazing. Amazing the effect that one individual can have, ladies and gentlemen. So everybody out there can make a difference. So get up and do something. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Steve, the insanity that is going on every day. We live... It's not the same planet I grew up on. This isn't even, I could say that not the same country, but it's not even the same planet I grew up on. It's like I woke up one day and I was in a different dimension, and it was like the opposite bizarro world dimension of what where I grew up. It's really strange.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think I got a few years on you. It's definitely changed in my time. I've seen a lot of changes in my life. I really have. And I mean, people can go back to the Federal Reserve Act 1913, but just in recent history, from the Kennedy assassination on to the capstone, really, of what I consider the biggest act of treason ever committed in the United States, if not the world, which was 9/11. I mean, it's hard to believe that people can still be absorbing all this information in the great information age and not be informed. And I was like you, Popeye. It really bothered me for about a week when I started looking at World Trade Center 7 because, I didn't want to believe that our country would do something like this to us. I mean, after all, we were all hurting from this incredible incident. But as I looked at that building fall over and over and over, my stomach began to turn. Because I knew something was wrong. I knew right then. And like a lot of people, you come to the very cruel reality, and it's a rude awakening, and it doesn't set well. And I understand how people are very frustrated and hurting, but you cannot hide. And I really think that, Ron Paul needs to get out of the Republican Party, and he doesn't have to say that 9/11 was an inside job, but he says, I think the people are entitled to a new investigation of all of these things. We've talked about the Kennedy assassinations. We've talked about these policies that have gone on all along here. We've talked about all different kinds of treasonous acts and the trampling of our constitutional rights and what's happening here. And, of course, the bankster bailout. What is it now? I saw you see the report with $16 trillion. I'll send that out to you if you need to see that, Popeye. Sanders, I guess, the independent in Congress, finally got that out of the little bit of information that we were able to squeeze out of those guys under the GAO agreement to partially audit the Fed, remember? At $16 trillion, $16 trillion with a T. I can't hardly believe, I can't hardly fathom $1 billion, much less $1 trillion. But that's what they stole. I mean, it's hard to believe. I know people who work at, like a very close relative of mine works as a serious manager. I mean, one of the top managers at Walmart. Can you imagine if your drawer came up like $2,000 short every day? This is mega theft.
Dude, I don't understand how people are just sitting back on their asses and like it's okay. I mean, I know that they've been mind controlled, but it just goes to show you how dumbed down people are. And this is why they're out in the open doing the things that they are right in your face. They're just waving their dicks in our faces because it doesn't matter. People are so dumbed down anymore. They just laugh and giggle. Yeah. Hey, we're raping your grandmother upstairs right now. Yeah, there's 5 guys violating her as we speak. Yeah, and everybody just laughs and giggles. And they're really doing it, and they don't care. People, oh, ha ha ha. Oh, it's so trendy to do it. It's so cool to be part of the team. Because people don't have any. They have no self-identity. So the only way they can identify is to be part of these fake, trendy movements. It's disgusting. It's because they have no self-identity, and it's because it's been destroyed by mainstream media and through conditioning.
Yeah, it's really bad because, in a way, it's like bullies, getting together and boasting about what they sold us. It's like, the whole thing with Obama's birth certificate. Okay, I know that unpopular subject with a lot of people, but, it's not whether Obama was born someplace anymore. It's all of his fake identities and even the forgeries that he's put out, the obvious forgeries. I mean, I could tell when I first saw that short form of the birth certificate, I could see that there were letters floating, kind of like George Lucas's Star Wars, the zero gravity machine. You could tell that those letters didn't belong on that paper. I mean, they were floating there, superimposed. I could see that with my eye from just looking at them the first time. Then I saw the elaborate discoveries that the guys had done. But then that second one the long form that they released was an obvious fraud. You know what they're doing, Popeye? They get together and laugh at how stupid we are. They say, look at what we gave them. We told them that this is the real birth certificate. It's so obviously a fraud that the dummies can't even deal with that. Ha, 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 ha. I mean, it's like bullying this. You know what I mean? They really like to rub our faces in the dire, ugly, filthy, psychopathic deeds that they do, and they think it's funny because we're powerless and can't do anything about it. That's a joke to them. These are sick people, guys. They really are.
Well, that's why it's time to do something like kick them right in the balls and take the country back and show them that we do have the power. See, they're afraid of us. They are deathly afraid of us. Case in point, Leon Panetta not allowing the Marines to have their weapons in the same tent with him while they're in a war zone. That shows that he has distrust in those Marines. If he trusted those Marines, it doesn't matter. I don't want to hear, oh, well, there was Afghan soldiers. So you disarm the Afghan soldiers and you allow the Marines to be armed. It is, after all, an American base, right? That's what you guys always walk around toting. We're the Americans, blah, blah, blah. This is our stuff, blah, 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 blah. That's our Secretary of Defense, right? So shouldn't he be allowed to be guarded by the Marines in a war zone? Isn't that a little odd that it was such lax security like that? So either now obviously Panetta, it's not even a case of it was a setup, because Panetta doesn't trust them. He's the Secretary of Defense. He could just tell them, I want these guys armed, and they would be armed. Who's going to outrule him? He's SecDef. He's in charge. He's their boss. So no one's going to, step up and say, "Well, screw you, man. We're going to keep our guns." He's their boss. So there's no reason. And at the same token, nobody could stand up and say you can't have, say to him, "Oh, they can't be armed. I don't care what you want." He's the Secretary of Defense. So obviously he didn't want them to be armed. So why wouldn't he want them to be armed? Well, he was scared. Now, when he was landing, apparently as his plane was coming in for a landing, one of the interpreters or something on the base drove a truck, stole a truck from a British soldier, ran over the soldier with it, breaking the guy's pelvis, and then this is the official story, and then went after the plane and crashed the truck into a ditch, I guess, while trying to keep up with the landing plane or something, and then he got out and set himself on fire, but he's still alive, and they're questioning him or something like that. So they don't know if they could even consider an attack on Panetta. But here's two scenarios. One, interesting that he doesn't trust the Marines to allow them to have weapons around him. But the other thing with the assassination attempt, some people the quoted assassination attempt, some people are asking whether or not they're trying to say, oh, maybe Panetta didn't have a choice about the guns, and maybe they did that so none of the Marines could have guns, and then a suicide bomber or somebody could come up and cap him. Is Panetta, is he not playing ball now? That's all. See, that's to get people sidetracked from crap. No. If this would ever tried killing him, maybe it was a valid attempt, or maybe somebody really there has it in for him, which wouldn't surprise me if somebody had it in for him. The guy's a scumbag, but and a war criminal. But the disarming of the Marines, he's the head honcho. Nobody could outrule him. What is some Marine colonel going to say? No, sir, they're not allowed to have guns around you.
Yeah.
He'd be like, I'm your boss, dick. Give me, I want the Marines to be armed. So that was his decision. Now, I don't think there was a conspiracy there, per se, to try to take out Panetta. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But from my viewpoint, I think he's afraid of those Marines.
Yeah, well, he even made statements on CBS News that he was quite aware of the fact that doing 2 and 3 tours had what he called a hell of an impact on people's thinking, and he knew a lot. Of course, this was in retrospect of the shooting, But he's quite aware of the fact that these guys are on the cutting edge of what you might call PS, post-traumatic stress, and also, well, they're right in the middle of it right now, and they're getting very dark. We had a very high list of officers being shot in Vietnam towards the end of the war, too. Of
course. Well, that was because a lot of those officers, that was part of the PTSD, because these the Vietnam vets, they were seeing their friends getting slaughtered by these green officers. I know a guy, all I'll say is, I won't say his name, all I'll say is he told me a rather interesting story, and in the story, an officer got shot, we'll just say that. And it was what you would call blue on blue. So I can't go into anything further because the point is it happened. An interesting point, the Vietnam vets make a good point. Most of these guys that are suffering from PTSD and stuff from Nam, these guys only went on 1, maybe 2 combat tours. These guys from Iraq and Afghanistan are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One Ranger had like 14 tours. Unacceptable, ladies and gentlemen, what we're doing to these fine men and women. All right, we're going to break. We'll be right back. Final segment. Stay tuned. We are back. Final segment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out and listening tonight. Steve, I want to thank you before I forget. and we get involved in something else, I want to thank you for hanging out, and I want to give you an opportunity to plug your website and your movie. And, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in on April 15th of this year, April 15th, 2012. It's a Sunday. Steve and I are going to be doing a Titanic episode. It's been a year exactly since we did an episode on the Titanic. So for the 100th anniversary of the sinking, we're going to be getting back into what we discussed last year. And a caller, when we did it last year, it was on the Bob Tuscan Show, and a caller called in towards the end of the show and spoke to Steve and I about the fact that there was evidence to show that there was an explosion in the lower half of the ship, and it blew the keel of the ship out. And if anybody knows anything about sailing or being in a ship, the keel is the backbone of the ship. It's like the ship's spine, and if that breaks, then the ship can just easily tear in two and sink. And it's got no structure and no sturdiness, and that would really explain why the ship was able to snap in half the way it was. But we actually didn't know this until we found it out live on air, and the guy had told us some information and stuff. So off air, he gave us the links and stuff, and Steve and I went and researched it, and it's been a year, and Steve has found some new information to, I guess, verify what this caller was telling us about. So we're going to be getting into that. We're going to be going over the basic premise of why it would be sunk on purpose, who was on board, who would be taken out. And people say, oh, well, again, why would they kill all those innocent people just to take 3 people out? Well, they do that all the time. They down airliners with 150 people on it to kill 1 person. It's been done multiple times before. You don't think it's called collateral damage. They don't care. And to them, it's a blood sacrifice. The more, the better. They really don't care. The sooner people understand this, the faster we can get through this. That's like the biggest problem. People don't want to understand why, that they could do this. Oh, it's too much, Popeye. Come on. They wouldn't kill that many people on purpose. They've taken out airliners with over 150 people on them to kill 1 person, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So don't think that for a minute, they wouldn't sink an entire ship to kill 3 or 4 people. And we'll get into why. I don't want to get it, I don't want to get into the details of it, but we'll get into why there is evidence to support that it might have been, the whole thing might have been perpetrated on purpose. What's his name? The ship's captain. He could be Smith. He was almost like, I guess you could say, like on a suicide run, like a kamikaze pilot, I guess. So I'm just going to wet your palate with that. You're going to have to wait a few weeks. Tune in on the 15th of April. Or you can always go back on YouTube and listen to our show from last year. But this year's show is going to be more of an addendum to that. So stay tuned and make sure you tune in. And we'll be getting into the Lincoln assassination as well, because that anniversary is the same time. So we're going to be interesting that all this stuff happens on the 15th of April, isn't it?
Yeah, tax day.
Oh, yeah. The dreaded tax day.
And what's even worse, it's Bob Tuscan's birthday.
Well, if you understand, yeah, it is. That's funny. It is Tuscan's birthday. It's tax day. Now the conspiracy theories are going to come out.
There you go.
If you look up around these certain times of the year, these are special dates for them. And it's interesting when you understand the background of money, Mon eye, one eye, and everybody worships money like a god. You have to go listen to my shows with Mark Passio. Go to my archives page, ladies and gentlemen, DTRH Radio Archives, DTRH Radio Archives on YouTube, and subscribe. And you can listen to the older shows, and you'll hear what Mark Passio and I were talking about. And you'll hear us discuss the whole money thing and Mon eye and one eye and how money is worshipped as a god, and the meaning, the symbolic meaning to them behind it, and the power that they think, whether or not, if they do derive it, okay, but whether or not you believe it, these people in power believe that they derive power from us through us worshiping this money and carrying it around because it's got certain symbols on it and everything else. So we empower it, and in turn they feed off that power. It's really sick and twisted. But see, I'm getting too far down the rabbit hole. That's why I have to do multiple shows on this stuff, because it's all connected. it all dovetails into one another. Before I forget, I wanted to get this out because we only got a few minutes left. I said before on other shows that if you guys take my shows from the YouTube archive, DTRH Radio Archives on YouTube, all one word, if you just go to real.com, get Real Player for free. You can rip it. Make sure you rip it in, I think it's 480, because that's the highest I have it up there, the quality, and that'll give you the top audio. Rip it, and then you can just render it into an MP4 or whatever. Learn how to use basic video editing software and cut up segments of my show that you think are good. If it's a little 6-minute, if it takes a 15-minute segment, whatever, cut it up and throw it on YouTube and send me the links and I'll post it. You know, title it something, you know, epic rant on whatever, or, you know, say I give out a little piece of information like that thing with where I was playing the audio from the FDNY fireboat. You can cut that segment out, you know, cut a segment out, make little videos, spread it around. If you make a video advertising my show or Federal Jack, my website, federaljack.com, if you make a video advertising my show or my website, I will give you a free T-shirt and whatever free DVDs I have, burned laying around in my box of give out DVDs. I'm not rich. I don't have money to give out, but the one thing I can give is free T-shirts, and my T-shirts are new. They're cool. They have the new logo on them. I've dropped the pictures in the chat room. Again, you guys can go to my fan page, Fed Jack, and you can see the pictures there. They're up there. But they're really well done T-shirts made by the same guy that does T-shirts for all these other alternative media outlets and stuff. And he really put his time and effort into it, and he went the extra mile for me. So do me the favor of, you know, making a video, cut it up, do something. Help promote my show, the Orion Talk Radio, and Federal Jack, my website, and I'll hook you up with a free T-shirt. You know, we'll scratch each other's backs. You'll get a free cool T-shirt, and if you make me, if you guys want, if there's somebody out there who wants to make me a new intro, you can do that. That's fine. And remember, if you make me an intro, your stuff will be featured in videos, so more and more people will see your work. You can say, "Hey, I did that." You know, I'll give you a shout out on air. Say, you know, give you a big thank you and everything. Yeah, I know it's not much, but hey, it's better than nothing. So if you want to get involved and help out, that would be greatly appreciated. That's how I don't beg. I don't come on air and beg for money. Some people like to, come give us this or give us that. The help I want is the help I would give to people, my work with my two hands. And in return, I'll throw you a free T-shirt. And, you know, you can walk around looking all cool with a federaljack.com T-shirt. People go, "Hey, where'd you get that snazzy shirt?" I have them in olive drab and black. I only have a few extra larges left, but I have a bunch of larges, mediums, and smalls. So maybe you don't want one, but you want one for your wife or your son or your daughter or whatever. So let me know if you want to email me. You can reach me at contactdtrh@yahoo.com. Contactdtrh@yahoo.com. Or you can email me at info@federaljack.com. But I'd prefer you email me at contactdtrh@yahoo.com. All right, Steve, go ahead and give out your website and everything, because we got a few minutes. Yeah. Go ahead and give out all your stuff. If you have I know you have a YouTube channel, I think, too. Give out all your stuff, Facebook, anything that people can follow you on.
Well, actually, I have just one big website. It's called AIDSfraudvideo.com, AIDSfraudvideo.com, and we show you 10 reasons why HIV is a manufactured hype of the medical industrial complex that was created around the demographic dilemma of AIDS. We're sometimes accused of being AIDS deniers. We're not. What we're really trying to do, Popeye, is to get at the real root of what's causing this with people and try to help them. And that's what I've been doing for, now 20 years. I've been involved with this. And if you visit our website, you can watch our film for free. There's a 20-minute teaser up there, but you have to click on a link to take you to the 2-hour documentary if you want to get a copy of the DVD and help us out. I will send out a copy of 9/11 Mysteries, a great film on 9/11, and I have also a video that I'm going to be sending out on chemtrails. You may know which one it is. It's a very good piece as well. But there's 3 videos. I get those out to you in the mail, and it's $14.95, includes your shipping, if you want to help. But if you just want to watch the film for free, just go to the AIDS Fraud Video website. You can watch it for free. If you want to help us out, we sure appreciate it. We could use the help right now. And I appreciate being on your show, too, Popeye, and I know you're going out. Popeye is a giver, friends. He really is, and, that's why I do shows with him, because, I've known him for a while. He's really concerned about what's going on. We spend a lot of time talking about what's really happening so that we can get the information out. So help Popeye if you can, and you just take these shows and get them on podcasts. That's the biggest thing you can do. Just get them out to other people so that we can get this information out, because we're running out of time, Popeye.
I agree. People need to step up to the plate and get involved. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time. Steve, thanks for hanging out today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening again. As always, it is because of you that I do this, and I show up time and time again, day after day here. I will see you all again Friday. It is an honor. We're out.